to open the chats as well so I can see what's going on. So last night we have managed 63 puzzles, but I choked really hard towards the end. For a simple reason. You get tired, and I was missing some key ideas in the positions. Okay, we'll see what's going on here. Oh, this is a very typical mate. Very rare to see actually in real puzzles. So we are down a piece. No, we are not down a piece. We are going to be up a piece by just simply attacking the queen. Taking the knight, mate in one. It's rather annoying, the very first puzzles on chess.com. But then all of a sudden it just becomes really difficult. And so once you see a checkmate, you see basically the whole line to the end. Unless you have a suspicion that there is a better checkmate, you can stop your calculation right there. So this is mate in 3 if I'm doing my arithmetics right. This is a typical choke mate. So queen h6. This one looks slightly more complicated. It should be easy. I think what will happen here, we are going to win some sort of material, but I'm not 100% convinced. So it's already difficult for me to calculate this one. So queen h6, king g4. Queen g6 doesn't do much because then king would go back to h4. If not, then obviously we are winning the rook. So after queen h6, king g4, we have rook g1 check. Queen h6, king takes g4, rook g1 check. The king will have to go to f5. And now with queen g6, the king will have to go to f4, and then we are taking on f7. So yeah, can go down this line. Mate in 2. We had similar combination in the previous session. Apologies if I'm not seeing chats, but I should be able to. They just disappeared from my stream. So this looks like a typical hanging piece on c4, unprotected piece. And we are up material. So this one is interesting because we are down material as we speak. If we take knight d5, bishop d1 is forced, knight c7, king goes to d7 maybe, knight takes a8, and if you want to save your bishop, you move. we move away as well, but we have exchange. We are exchange up. So let's do that. And also the knight will be escaping through knight to b6. Queen h1, mate n1. Okay, so what is the queen doing on c3 here? And the correct move is rook c1, as there's no way to defend the bishop on c8. Bishop f4 comes to mind as a first move, and it's also checkmate, so that's one of the first moves you can then easily play. Queen h3, also mate in one. Queen g3, rook h8, and rook h3 or h7 is a checkmate, so let's go. Now here, queen a8 and rook a7 is also a typical mate in two. Bishop g5, bishop g5. Oh yes, this actually looks like bishop g5 because we are winning rook on a3. But there, just like as I failed the puzzle previously in my previous session, I failed the puzzles because I would go for a simple idea like here, bishop g5, king g5, rook a3, but it's not very clear how you're going to stop the pawn on d4, b5, and also you're most likely going to lose pawn on g4. So black will have more than good counterplay, and you're probably still losing as white. But if you look for more ideas, now you know that you can win the rook on a3, you just need to look if you can actually provide slightly better checks. So then I go through second line with rook h3, king g7, bishop d4 check. King goes wherever he wants to go, and then we take on a3. Now what happened, the difference is that we are one piece up, and it's a clear rook, and black has zero counterplay. So just by calculating that second line, we have avoided one lost puzzle, which would be very painful. So queen to g3. And again, this puzzle could be easily lost to greed. So if queen g3 and king h1, then you can lose by queen e1, or even if white plays bishop g2 and you decide to take the rook, then you lost the puzzle itself. But after queen g3, king h1, you just play queen takes f3 and follow up with the mate. So it's good not to be greedy on those kind of puzzles. So here, we would love to promote the pawn, but we cannot push the pawn forward, we would lose the queen. Also, if we give a check on e5, then we have slightly more defensive options in some cases if we get checked on d5, but obviously rook is protecting. So it feels like queen e5 is an essential check to give first, and then just start pushing the pawn forward. It's also queen e5 stopping the c7 pawn, which actually is a bit of a problem. But if queen e5, queen g3, queen takes g3, king takes g3, d2, c7, and then you just simply take, promote to a queen, we lose the rook, we win. We will have a queen against the rook. So queen e5 looks like the move. Yes, we take. Now this is a slightly different move, but it doesn't bother us, as white cannot stop the pawn d2. And as I said, we are going to give the rook, because if you don't give the rook, then you're allowing white to stop d2 pawn. And so it's more important to have the queen than to lose the really important pawn here. Now this type of puzzle, after practicing a lot, you will see immediately the resolution or the solve, because you'll see that knight is hitting both from f6 is hitting both the e8 and h5, and you also see that if you take with bishop on h5, you are skewering the king and the queen, so you attracting the king into a square where it has to be. Now fork, and enough material to win 2 games, not just one. Now rook b7 again look like a #1 move on the list. The question, however, is what to do next. If rook b7 and king goes to c8 without taking the rook, then we take knight takes d6 check. King has to go to d8 and we win a free queen. So after rook b7, black is gonna take the rook. We take, again, we are attracting the king to wrong square, just to fork the queen and a king. An extra piece usually is more than advantageous to us. Now here it looks again like winning a queen. So I'm actually surprised that chess.com decided to give me more of the practical puzzles than the mating ones. So again, we are attracting king to a square where he doesn't want to be with bishop a6, and now knight c6 is winning the queen by just taking, checking, and taking. So here we sacrifice rook in a corner to attract the king, and queen h6, h7 should be a checkmate, so we don't need to calculate further. So if I don't get past 40 usually, that's something bad with my calculation, or I'm just not focusing at all. So knight takes e4 looks like the beginning of the sequence, because the knight is not sufficiently protected. However, things get complicated. After rook takes f8, we have to take with the king. If rook e1, we cannot move the knight, but we can protect it further with bishop f5. And I don't think there's any more pressure that white can exert on the... Oh, actually, after bishop f5, white has rook f1. White has rook f1. Because our king is being now pinned. So it's not so simple. Knight takes e4. 2 4 6, 2 4 6. Knight takes e4. Knight takes e4, rook takes f8, check. King takes f8 and rook e1. Okay, but what we can actually do here, We don't need to protect the knight again, because if... Oh no, we have to. Bishop e4. Knight takes e4, rook f8, king f8. Rook f8, king f8, rook e1. Bishop f5, rook f1. And then it's difficult to protect the bishop. Maybe queen f6 can be played. But after g4, we will have queen takes d4. I think knight e4 is the best move. Taking with the king looks like the best move too. Well, bishop e4 is no challenge, right? But rook e1, rook f1 was a challenge, so this is not, because we just walk our king to safety. Although we need to be careful here, because rook e1 may be coming, so we can play always bishop e2 and not to care. Or we can also actually play queen to d4 check, so I thought more challenging was rook e1 indeed. This wasn't at all. Mate in 1. Mate in 2, and no, mate in 3, because he's got queen h5. This is also my favorite type of mate. So far, easy. Knight f2 is a checkmate, so queen f2 has to be played, and after queen e4 we cleared all the light squares, so we can checkmate. Queen b6 check, bishop e3, bishop c5. What happens with the... Okay. So because white is threatening mate on g7 in a clumsy way, I would say, when we play queen b6 check, the best move for white is bishop e3. Everything else loses. If you know the knight f2, knight h3, queen g1, knight f2 checkmates. So we just take on e3 and force the rook to stop protecting the queen. That's why it's so clumsy, and that's why we are winning this queen. The question is, I forgot that our knight is hanging. It's a disaster overall. So this is mate in 3. We have to take with this, and then bishop was the only protector. Okay, so this is like the self checkmate kind of thing, where if now suddenly if we play king g7, we take the only escape square from the king, then white is unable to protect the f5 square, which is a checkmate. So let's go. This is the only way to protect that square, to sacrifice. This as well, this is one reason why black would always like to have bishop on g7 to protect all the weak light squares, dark squares, and obviously the h-file here now is the biggest issue for them. So we sacrifice a queen and checkmate. This might not end up with a checkmate, but it might end up with black losing a queen or forced. Finally a puzzle that looks a bit more challenging, if I may say so. But this straightforward knight h6 doesn't seem to work at all. Queen g6 also doesn't work for rook f7, and we just lost the most important piece, so it looks like e6 will be the move. It's slightly shocking that that's our best move, but even that is a puzzle. After all, we are around 40 puzzle, level 40 puzzle, so it might be reasonable to think this will be the solution. But after e6, queen f6, what is it we can actually do there? We can take the queen, but we can also maybe play queen takes d5. But everything's getting like a bit murky and complicated. And we would love to have our queen on g6. So kind of like a move like e6. What am I missing here? I'm looking a little bit deeper into the line knight h6, gh, queen g6, king h8, queen h6, king h7, queen g6, queen h8. And then we don't have much about the repetition. And if queen g7, then queen e6, rook f7 might be. So e6 looks like the only move. from afar. I don't see anything, but what? This is shameful that that puzzle ended up like that. It's truly, truly just shameful. Now here we have complications. And white has their say in this position. However, this looks like f2 check. King d1 doesn't look very good because rook takes d2. And then potentially something like bishop e3. Rook d2 itself as well looks strong. But g takes f3 might be a problem. So we have several candidates here. Several. f3 check. King f1. Knight takes d2 check. F3, king f1. And then we have rook h2 f8. Winning the knight on f7. Because if the knight moves, we have then knight takes d2 checkmate. However, that would still be only 4 pieces, so f2. f2, king f1, rook h f8, and then they can play something like bishop c3, which is annoying. f2, king f1, knight takes d2 check, king takes f2. Oh, I miscalculated earlier, that's why I'm calculating this over and over again, so already getting myself ready for fail. That's obvious here. What I didn't see, that after knight takes d2, the king is staying on f2. For some reason, I was already seeing the king going to be on e1, so that's why I didn't see rook h f8, which is a very simple solution. There's nothing white can do to lose the knight. And that's all she wrote. So here we are in a situation that is a bit murky. We are down 2 pieces. I'll let you think about this a little bit. It appears that knight f6 is the move, and I'm going to get something because I need to see something. Something that I wanted was the YouTube, because for some reason on mobile it shows me the chat, but then it just hides the chat. So in case somebody's speaking to me, I was not able to see anything. Just wanted to be sure that I respond to you guys if need be. And punch punch saying, but move, brother. Queen to knight. Are you sure, punch? Where was on which puzzle did we make this? It's a bit annoying that I couldn't see that you were actually chatting to me. So apologies for that. But on stream it displays, but then I press it and then it doesn't display. So I have to have a different device so I can respond to chat. So here looks like knight f6, g takes f6, queen e8, king g7, h6, king g6. So far only moves. Then queen g8, and then kings can start running with king f5. We don't want that king to be running. So knight f6, g f6, queen e8, king g7. That looks so far like the moves. If h6, king g6, then h6, king g6. Maybe queen e4, but that's bishop f5 there. Knight f6, g f6, queen e8, king g7. h6, king g6. And also f5 is very annoying there. So if we go to queen g8 and king f5, g4, he's got king f4. He's wiggling his way out. What does black has in those? Do they have some really difficult checks or something like that? Do they have some checkmates? Unfortunately for us, black has like a very simple way to win, which is gonna be bishop c3 check if it was their move, queen b2, and then they control the d1, so queen b2, queen b1 kind of thing. Pam, pam, pam. What can we do? Knight f6, g f6, queen e8, pawn h6, king g. Then maybe we can play g4. g4. But isn't it already... If they play bishop g4, we don't have any more checks anyway. Knight f, gf, queen e8, king g7, h6, king g6, and then I'm missing something I'm missing here. Maybe it's not knight f6. But what else would knight f6, g f6, and what now? We cannot play bishop e2 because queen c2, queen e2 would be blowing us out of the water. So knight f6, gf6, queen e8, king g7, h6, king g6, queen g8, king f5, g4 check, king f4, and king looks safe. And is there a chance we can play I think I know what we need to play there. After h6, king g6, we need to play rook h4. Queen c2, king e. Queen g8 and then rook h4, no, rook h4. h6, king g6, and maybe rook. Oh, wait a moment. I think I'm seeing the thing I need to see. Knight f6, gf6, queen e8, king g7, h6, king g6, queen g8, king f5. And now we have rook h5 check. Rook h5 check. The issue is the king can still maybe hide somewhere. Rook h5 check. King can go to f4, then queen g3 is checkmate. King can go to e6, in which case queen e8 and rook d5 is a checkmate. Okay, so rook h5 is what was so difficult to visualize because I was not realizing that the pawn is not on h6 anymore or on h5, so this was the key move to spot. And also that there's no defense like with the bishop from c8. This was a difficult puzzle. The last move was rook d5. I don't know why they didn't let us to play it, because it was a nice move. Knight f7 check, king c7, queen c6 checkmate. What is this? Just after this like difficult puzzle, we get this simple one. Okay, this is a very typical position. If you know a little bit of Sicilian, or could happen also in different positions, this looks like a Slav defense kind of thing, or maybe even French defense without c5, which is even weirder, so more like a Slav defense. This position is called poison pawn. When a queen is lands on b2, if you play knight a4, you're taking away all the squares from the queen. You need to check obviously that you have everything at least protected once. So pawn c2 protected one, pawn d4 protected one, pawn a3 protected by the rook, Rook a1 protected by the queen. So once you play knight a4, the queen is basically trapped. So taking poison pawn on b2 oftentimes leads to trouble. This was in between move, so we just take back. As the queen is still trapped, it gives itself away. Okay, so this looks like a very simple checkmate in two. So once we check here, if he takes queen g6 checkmate, if he was going to h3, queen h1 would be a mate. So here we are. Black wants to play rook takes f3, but they are going to get checkmated in just lateral checks. So rook b6, rook e5, rook h6. Thank you for trying to hurt us, but not really. It's not going to happen, not on this stream. So this position reminds me some sort of could be Larsen's game, maybe. Less likely though. It could be some English position. So first move, which looks very tempting, is queen g4. Win the knight, yay! But then rook takes e1 and the celebrations aren't so great. So then second move that we need to consider is queen to d4. Take the rook first. Okay, just bear with me. If I take the rook and he plays queen h4, wouldn't that be a problem? Wouldn't that be a problem, Pronto? Rook e8, queen h4, and then what do we do then? Because if we defend against queen f2 h4, where he's got at least a draw, then he will be able to recapture the rook on e8. So I'm thinking to throw in the check on d5 first. But taking the rook on e8 is a good idea. I didn't even consider it yet. So if I throw in check on d5, he cannot go to f8 because then I can do your plan as you said. And if he goes to f6, then taking the rook is also fine, because if queen h4, I have this in between a move rook e6. So I think bishop d5 is the first move. Now take the rook, and now take on g4. Thank you for bringing the great idea. I don't have official rating right now. I used to be around 2000 last time I checked. But I was also as high as 2200, and my online ratings, they are usually around 2300, but for example my blitz is very bad, around 2000 right now, because I'm testing some openings. So I've got all sorts of ratings, but none of them really matter. What's your rating? Okay, 2 4 6 7 2 4 6 7. Just want to improve my calculation. It's the most important bit for me. I feel like queen c6 will be the move. But then are we losing on f4 with a check? We do. We don't have knight e4 for queen b2, and then we lose the queen. So it's a bit precarious situation. Okay, actually it's very simple. Bishop a6, queen f4, queen f4, rook f4, bishop c8, rook c8, rook d7. So we need to take the knight. There was no other moves, so this looks like a bit like a joke. Oh, I see what's going on. We have the checkmate on h7, but first we need to defend against the mate ourselves. So if rook d2 and f5, this is the moment we calculate. En passant, and rook ae8, then rook a2. And if they moved away, that's queen h7, right? So rook d2 looks like the move. En passant. But wait, 2 4 2 4, yeah, en passant. Up a piece. Thank you. What is the simple solution here? Bishop f8 is the first move, without a doubt. But then you need to be careful. Bishop h6 is not a checkmate for rook e8. So bishop f8, king g8, for example. Bishop e7 check. Boom, boom, boom. We are going to win bishop. No, the rook after bishop f6. I think that's it. Oh. So, but why giving the bishop? What have I missed? Oh, because e takes f6 is actually a checkmate. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. But yeah, it's good to be careful when I start making those kind of mistakes. So discovery, I think, is the most likely thing to do here. So knight c8 check, king b8, queen a7, king c7, queen b6. Doesn't lead to anywhere. Knight d5, however, looks much better. But then you have king a8. You have knight b6 check with another knight from a4. And Then you can go king b8. It's getting a bit more complicated, so just bear with me a moment. Knight e5, king a8, knight a b6, king b8, queen d6 check. Where am I? Yeah, okay. Bit lost again. Knight d5 check, king a8, knight a b6, king b8, queen d6, if knight takes, oh wait a minute, yeah, okay. Knight to c8 check, take, he takes 2 and that's no good. Knight e5, king a8, knight c7 check. King b8. He's like this, like a snake. Knight c8 is double check. Knight e5, king a8, knight a b6, king b8, queen d6, king a7, what's black's threat? Queen f2, and they have minimum perpetual, so knight to c8 check, king b8. Oh man, I think I'm blind these days. So knight c8 check, king a8 is not helping at all. If king b8, then we have queen e5 check. Then king a8 is the only move, and yeah, okay. So just me being blind and not seeing the right type of check. I was choking myself with the queen d6. Okay, weak dark squares. h4 looks like a move. And h4 is very forced. So h4, king h4, g3. If king g3, queen f2 is a checkmate with queen h2. We are going to go all the way to that line anyway. So h4, king h4, g3. If the king goes back, queen f4 is a checkmate. So this is how you get how you destroy them on those dark squares. And in the longest line is h4, king h4, g3, king h3, queen f1, king takes g3 forced, queen f2, king h3, queen h2. So boom, 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 and And queen h2 is a checkmate. Knight e4. So what we want to avoid is to allow this king to escape. However, there are a couple of things here. And one of the most important things here is that we don't have enough material. That's the most and the most sad things ever. However, on the positive note, we have some check-in powers. So one line I'm looking at is knight c4, king e7, queen f7, checkmate. So knight c4, king c7. Knight takes e6. D takes e6, and then queen a5. That wouldn't work. Knight c4 though still looks like the move that one would want to be playing. Knight to e4 is the second option. Knight to e4, but then you have king e7. Knight c4, king c7, knight e6, d e6, queen a5. After knight e6, actually, you can also go king c8, and you'll be all good. The problem also is knight c4, king c7, knight a5, then there's bishop b4 check. Knight f7, king e7, queen h4. King takes f7, queen d8. I'm starting to believe this is not about... What is this about? Knight f7, king e7, king h4, king f7, queen d8. Now, rook a5 is hanging. A massive material advantage there. Knight c4, king c7. c4, king c7, knight a5, bishop b4, c3, bishop a5, knight takes e6, d takes e6, queen a5, king c8 or d7. Oh no. Oh yeah. Knight f7, king e7. Let's start there. I'll be winning some material there. So yeah, this one is too complicated and I don't see the right idea. So I'm gonna try knight f7 and queen h4. That's the only thing that makes sense looking from here. And now after queen d8, there will be two pieces hanging, like knight on b8 and rook on a5. So that's the reason why I played the way I played. Oh my goodness, this puzzle though, like almost impossible to actually calculate it. So. And this is some sort of Sicilian opening. No, it's not a Sicilian opening because the pawn's on c7. Kind of reminds me some of those Sicilian lines. And this bishop on e3 is hanging, but is it really? Dun, dun, dun. Knight c6, bc6. Knight c6, bishop e3. Okay, this is where I need to calculate now. Knight c6. So wait, 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, so we are the same material. Knight c6, bishop e3, f e3. No, knight c6. Knight c6, bishop e3, f e3, bc6. No bueno. Knight c6, bishop e3, knight d8, bishop d2 check, rook d2. Oh yes, that's it. This doesn't. That's what the heck. Knight c6, bishop e3. Would it be crazy to take there with a queen? Knight c6, bishop e3. If I take queen e3, bc6. Still not. And then play rook takes d5. He's got cd5 back. Knight c6, bishop e3, queen e3, bc6. Just a trade. Knight e5, knight e5, queen d5. So it's knight d4, isn't it? Knight takes e6. Knight, oh my God, I don't know where to start. This one's crazy. Knight e5, queen d5, knight c6, queen d2, rook d2, bishop e3, fe3. Knight c6, bishop e3, knight e8, bishop e2 check, rook d2, knight c3, bc3, knight c6, bishop e3, knight e8, bishop d2, rook d2. That's an extra piece, isn't it? Knight c6, bishop e3, knight d8, bishop d2, rook d2, knight c3, bishop bc3. Okay, I guess it's that. It's just so difficult to see. There's that extra piece up there. The important thing is to find the right move now. Would that be just exchanging the... I can play rook d1, and if takes, bishop g4, I have f3. Oh no, I don't, because then there's rook d8 check, and bishop leaves, and I'm like there with nothing. So rook d1 is a mistake, so king b2 is the must. Getting tired. I'll water myself down and see what happens in this position. Candidate number 1, pawn to e4. e4, d4, knight e5, no bueno for white. So if we play e4, what is their plan? What is their plan? Because then we can try and play maybe something like e4, queen g4. Because queen e3 doesn't look good. We can go like knight f4 kind of things, and it's just knight e5 still looks good. b5 also looks good. kind of move. So e4, d5. Yeah, so e4 is the first move for sure. Okay. How difficult this is gonna be. Oh, very difficult, very difficult. If he plays now f4, queen c3. What would be the point, like? What would be the point? If we play g5, what does that tell us? Queen d4. g5 is the candidate move, is it not? It is not. g5. Queen d4. And g4. King e2 and rook c2. What was the point of all this maneuvering? Bishop e7 looks much more modest. Bishop e7, bishop, if queen d4 is no longer an option. There's a chance for them to play a queen f4 though. Then bishop g5, bishop e7, queen f4. Bishop e7, queen f4, g5, queen e5. What to do, what to do, what to do. Queen e4 check, queen takes, pawn takes, rook. Those weak light squares, they are so inviting, but bishop e7, queen f4 is forced, I think, because queen d4, bishop f6, and queen d2, queen e4, rook c2 is winning. So bishop e7, queen f4. Oh, wait a moment. We have moves like rook c4 as well. After bishop e7, queen f4, rook c4. Queen e5, and then we can maybe play queen c6, but if trade, that's the problem. Queen d5 is also with a check. Might be. Okay, so how about switch the ideas and play rook to e8 first. If bishop d4, then rook e8, bishop d4. Then g5, queen e4, but it's not going anywhere. Oh, wait a minute, queen e4, king e2. King e4, but there's also queen g6 after g5, so rook e8, bishop d4, g5, then there's that unfortunate moment where he's got queen g6. Rook e8 is actually not even a checkmate, so queen to b3. Queen b3, rook d6, queen b2, and I'm having nothing. Bishop e7, and then queen c6 check. So bishop e7, we said queen f4. Now if I play queen c6, yeah, I think it's bishop e7 actually. And he plays the dumbest move. So sad. I wanted to see the line with queen f4 because then it's like really interesting. The move then was, I think, queen c6, and we get to win, but this looks like the dumbest move he has. Because we just chop, chop, and we are up a piece. You sweat for nothing, you sweat for nothing. How is knight f4 not a move? Knight f4. Is there a bishop f7? Then you take it king. King f8. So I still have to play queen f3 and then bishop g4. Queen h1 is no good. Bishop, queen e4 doesn't look good. But for the time being it's okay. Feels like knight f4. Knight f4, queen f3, bishop g4. I will have f5, but not if he takes on f7. But then I have knight e2 and king takes f7. So yeah, I'd try knight f4. With the bishop f4, there's no more defenses, I think. Knight f4. Bishop g4. Was there anything better? Hardly doubt it. Oh, I thought I missed that. I thought I missed queen takes f4, but there was that bishop all along. Consistently hitting 60s would be great. It would be absolutely fantastic. How is queen f2 not a move? How is black defending against queen f7 check? Let's see, let's give him benefit of the doubt and play rook d8. Playing rook d1 is not going to work anymore. Queen f2, rook d8, and that's nothing. Rook d1, rook d3. Queen f2, rook d8, rook e1, and again it's nothing. Queen f2, rook d8, rook d1, rook d3. And is that something? Rook d3, cd3. This doesn't. No reasonable checks. Queen. Queen f2, rook d8. Queen f7, king h8. Maybe I can play rook c1. Can he stop me with rook c3? Queen f2 looks like a first move. What would be the first move if not queen f1? So queen f1, rook d8. rook d1, rook d3, queen f7. If rook c1, threatening rook c7. Yeah, I'll try queen f2, because that makes most sense. Queen f6 makes sense too. I can play always queen f7 if need be, but no. In this case, rook d1 makes sense, because now you cannot play rook d3 for queen d4. Queen d4, rook d4, rook d4, e3, no. Bueno. Okay. So rook d1 makes ton of sets. I don't see rook h3, gh3. That's all good still. That's good, I said. Okay. Black to move. I had similar position again today. Who's got more pieces? White has more pieces. How is bishop g3 not a first move? Bishop g3, king f1, queen f4 check, queen f3, rook takes e2, queen takes f4, bishop g3. Okay, bishop g3, king f1, rook takes d1, bishop takes d1. What am I doing? Bishop g3. Oh yeah, you play king f1 to protect the bishop on e2. Okay, I don't see anything that this kind of makes sense. And let's go after that queen in the corner. I play this one more intuitively, because it just made sense with the king f1. We are 5 away from our maximum best. And I think we hit also with the previous stream 63. So if this is not going to be a good times, I don't know what will. So, problem. Knight takes f3 is a problem. No, it's not a problem. Is it a problem? Knight takes f3 is not a checkmate for king g4. Knight f3 is not a mate. Rook d7 though still feels like should be played. a7. I don't see the mate. That's a7, g4 check. King g4. King g4 will be forced one way or another, so it doesn't matter. So let's go g4, king g4. King g4 is not the forced, but if we take with the pawn, then knight to f3 is suddenly gonna be a checkmate. Maybe. Or very close, but not really. Also the pawn on oh, wait a second. Knight f3, a7, knight f3, 8-8 queen, rook h2, king g4, knight e5 checkmate. Aha. Aha. So a7, knight f3, a8 queen, rook h2, king g4, knight e5 checkmate. Okay. No bueno. So we cannot let him take on f3 with no... We just cannot let him take on f3. My other phone is just starting to mess around with me. It's closing it, so sorry about that. Okay, all good now. So if we cannot play a7, what is it we can play? Bishop d5? Bishop d5. Bishop h5. I think bishop d5. Bishop d5 and then if knight b5. It's not pretty. In fact, it's pretty ugly. So how about rook d7? Rook d7, if knight f3, then rook f3, knight... rook d7, knight f3, rook d2, knight d2. a7. f3, king g3. Oh, I don't have to. With knight to d2, I think I have bishop c4. So it feels like rook d7. Rook d7, king e5, a7. And how are you stopping the pawn? You are not stopping the pawn. So we'd go rook d7, and it's wrong. Yeah, that one was already above my level. Not the greatest of combinations. Well, not much material. How did we miss that? Okay. Really interested to see what's the best move there. a7, knight f3. Oh, don't know. Don't know. Queen g6, king d7, rook d3. Queen g6, king d5. King g6, queen g6, king d5. Rook d3, knight d4, and I'm forced to take rook d4, king d. Rook e3, knight e5. Wow. Choke point. Just a moment. Just a moment before we choke another puzzle. Rook e3, knight e5. Rook e5. No. Queen g6. The problem is queen e1 is imminent, and then all those pieces are ready to kill. So let's just stroll in with queen g6, king d5. Then looks like a knight c3 might be moved, but it's king c5. If rook c3, rook d1, knight d4, rook d4, queen d4. Oh no, king d4, rook c3. No. Queen g6, king d5, rook d4, back king d4. There's no more checks. Oh, wait a minute. Rook g6 check. But that's not anything, is it? Rook g6, if king d5 has to be played again. Does it have to be played? I think so. Because if not... Too many checks to consider. So rook g6, I don't see him like if king d5, queen d3. Rook g6, king d5, queen f3. Also, if king e5, there's no answers. Rook e3, knight e5, isn't it? Queen g6, king d5. Rook g6, king e5, f4, king d4, slippery again. Rook g6, king d7, queen to f5, not e6. If queen d3, king c7, it's not great. e6. Oh no, there's that queen e6. I saw that a long time ago, but forgotten it. And that will be rook e6, I think. Queen e6. But it still has king c7. But it feels like it will be queen g6. I don't actually have any proof of it, but can't see anything else better. Oh God. Yeah, so we get one step closer to nothing. Because I'll be honest, I don't see it. This was just queen g6 just made most sense to get the king on d5, but that's all I see. And the problem now is if rook d3, knight d4 is with the check, and if we give them just half a move, they are going to solidify with like move like e5. This is, I know it's very concrete, but it's pretty much what it is. Knight c3 was the move that I was thinking earlier, but it's still not giving any answers to. Okay, I see one move. It's one move. One move, but a good move. Is it a good move? Queen, queen, queen. Starting to look for some like a long range moves of the queen, like queen g2. But if knight to c3, rook c3, and rook c3. If knight e4, then I can maybe go forward, and then I don't want to run out of pieces with knight c3, but knight c3 so much looks like the move. Rook d3, knight d4, rook d4, king d4. No follow-up checks. So that's what I saw from afar. Jesus. Rook d4. Rook d3, knight d4, king e3. And then all of a sudden like be some move like maybe f4. But f4 is not going to help him. e5. e5 is going to help. And he can run, he can run. If knight d4, I'm like a little bit afraid that I feel like knight c3, but no can do, no can be. So I don't see follow-up after knight d4. King d3 might be, but e5, and then what? And if something like rook d2, that's not working. Rook d3, king d2, rook c2. If knight e4 was not a check, it would be probably okay-ish for me, but How is the king not escaping if rook, king? Oh god. If I then play queen g5, rook c2 knight e2, no, too slow. How about rook c3? Rook c3, knight e4. Play rook d3. Yeah, that one is probably just couldn't take it no more. So what's the threat? g6, rook h8, g7. g6, rook h7, and I'm just gonna keep, I'll go g7. He cannot even take it, right? So just go g6, g7, rook g1. Oh, okay. 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 So I think here I go king h3, rook g8, rook g2. King f6, king h. Okay. Rook g2, rook g8, king h3, king h4, king f4, king h4, king f5, king h5, king f6, king h6 promotes. If rook g2, rook g8, king h3, king f6, king h4, rook takes, king takes, king g5, king f7, king f5. Okay, I think it's this, that. Oh, okay, what is that? Don't understand this. What the? Just keep going. Okay, queen takes g3 looks like candidate move, but then king goes f1. Then queen h3 looks like a move. Queen f8 is a checkmate also, it's not helping. So queen g3. King f1. Bishop d3. Rook e2. Queen to f3. King g1. King g1. Yep, I think it is gonna work. So if bishop d3, it must be bishop d3, it cannot be anything else. So bishop d3, king e2, king e1, queen d. Bishop d3, rook e2, queen f3, king g1, queen g4 check. Rook g2, queen d1. Yeah, looks like it. Queen e3, I'm still not sure what happens after queen e3, king d1. Still need to be aware of those checkmates. Queen e3, king d1. Problem. Queen g1, king d2. Problem. So queen e3, king d1. And rook f6 would be like a big mistake. Still getting mated there. These puzzles, man. Queen e3, king d1. If I just let go with rook f6, I'm checkmated after queen f6 with g2. If queen g1, king d2, and he runs. So we need to look for some checks. to king d1. Would it be bishop c2, king c2, queen e4 check, and then we are taking on f6 with the rook. And I think this is going to be bishop c2. Bishop c2, rook c2. Bishop e2 could be as well a possibility. Bishop c2, rook c2, queen d4. Nuh-uh. Bishop c2, rook c2, queen d4, rook d2, queen a1, queen c2, queen a4. I think it's bishop c2. Oh, or is it? Queen g1. This is crazy lines. These are like some crazy lines. Queen g1, king d2, rook h2, king c3, rook h3, I think. Gee, man. What do you say? Peace? What the There was some line to calculate. Rook b4, king c7. Black will have some sort of perpetual. Rook b4, king c7. That's the line. Rook b4, king c7. Queen b6. If king c8, then queen b8 checkmate, and then rook d, king d6 and rook d4. I'll take this line. I don't know what other line to take right now. Looks like the best line. But just 1 second. Queen d8 or not queen d8? That is the question. Rook d4, rook d4, and if king e6, then what? King d8, king e8, queen. Okay. Evaluate here. So rook b4, king e6, draw, rook d, rook d5, queen c6, rook d6, queen e8. Queen d8 doesn't look like a move, because I don't see a follow-up there. Queen d8, king e6. So what would be the move here? Queen d8. So rook d4. Rook d5. Probably a fail. Yep. Couldn't see it, but two good results today. But my choking point is around 60, but getting to 60s, even though it's very painful. Let's try the a7 here. So what is it that I was missing here? Because rook h2, king g4, knight a5 is a checkmate. So would be rook e5 the move? No. Rook h2, knight e5 is a checkmate, so what do you propose? What do you propose to save yourself? King g4, knight e5, king h5, rook h2 is a checkmate. Okay, I can see it now, rook c6. Oh my god. no more checkmates, and we have a queen. And just do your worst. Okay. So rook c6 in between move. That's one thing I didn't consider at all. Really nice. So queen g6 we got right, and now knight c3 I was thinking, but rook c3 the move. Well, I want to go and with an engine at this because yeah, you can see the line, but you cannot evaluate the line properly. So that's the issue here. You take because you don't want to lose the rook, and now I was thinking knight d4 king. The computer says e5. Just so. Okay. It's all about evaluation, and it's plus 1.78. Like, really? I'm not that level yet, buddy. Never mind. That happens. How do I go back now? Okay. Exit. And this one I knew it's gonna be this. But the follow-up, what is it I'm missing? I knew it's gonna be a miss, but what is it that I'm missing here? Some sort of endgame? No. Okay, I think it's actually simple now that I see that after queen e8, rook e7, you have queen g6. Should have seen that. Should have seen that. Oh, but not only I didn't see the queen g6, but also I didn't see that if you go like king e5 here. If you go king d7, we know what happens, but if you go king e5, we will have a look into it like in just a moment. Because so this is what we missed. By we, I mean myself. Still rook d4 here. It's still gonna be difficult to evaluate this one, right? Rook h4 as well. Well, not the grandmaster yet. Rook h4 is really nice. Okay. Move like queen f7 is a checkmate almost. Oh yeah, he will be running, but he has to play queen f5, right? Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, solving with me. And yeah, hopefully next time we will have a bit more success. I'll see you. You guys take care.